In today's webinar, we're going to talk about machine applique and how that's done, machine cut applique using Happy Embroidery machines. And the machine cut applique, what we mean by that is the traditional applique uses the application of a piece of fabric or any other material such as vinyl laid down on top of a garment or any other thing that you want to decorate, and cut out and then sewn down on the edges in whatever shape you want, and then hand cutting the excess away, and then sewing down a border around it with your embroidery machine. So that's very convenient. It's very easy to do. But what we're going to show today is that you can actually cut with a professional type cutter, an automatic cutter. So first thing we'll do is let's look at a typical design digitized for appliques. A heart shaped here with an open area in here, and that open area is going to be filled in with a material shaped like a heart that will be cut out. When we do a machine cut shape, we're going to do it a different way, and let's break that down into the stages. So this design is actually broken down into 3 sections. So the first section is going to sew first onto our garment, and that's the running stitch on the left. So this is going to sew first onto the shape, and then we want the machine to immediately pause after that so that we can align a shape that, in a piece of vinyl that we're going to cut out in a little bit here in this video. After we've aligned that on there and ironed it on, we have an iron-on adhesive on our material, on the back of our material. Then we hit start, and the machine will then sew this shape here, which is basically a loose, open zigzag form of stitching that will align perfectly with this. So that's what, because what you're seeing in the actual design itself is it's all stacked together. So what we're doing in this view is we're showing it broken down from step 1 to 2 to 3. So finally, the third step after this, what's called the tack down stitch, is that the final border stitch, which is optional, and then any final detail like the word love here is also sewn out as well. We'll go ahead and save this to a DST file and send it to the machine. So we'll go to File, we'll save this as, and when you ever you save something, just remember that you remember what folder you put it in. So we're going to put it in our Applique folder, wherever that is. For the machine to read it, it has to be in DST format. So we'll just go Applique Heart. Give it anything that you want to name it. So we'll just call that Applique Heart. And then what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and launch our Happy Link program, which is connected to the machine, and you'll hear the machine responding here. Let's open that and make sure that we are in the Applique folder and that we're looking for the DST file that we just created. So we just call it Applique Heart. So we'll hit Send Pattern. That beeping noise that you hear is the machine actually receiving it. Now we want to convert that design to a format used by the cutter. So to do that, we want to make a picture of the part that has to line up with the applique shape, which is the little running stitch. So let's get rid of the we'll go ahead and get rid of the border stitch, any of the details. You can hide them, delete them, whatever needed. And then let's get rid of the border stitch. And all we need is a little running stitch underneath. So I'm just clicking and deleting that so we have a picture here. And then we'll screen capture this. You can use the Windows snipping tool, which is in all of Windows 7, 8, and 10. The Start, Programs, Accessories. And we're going to capture that. And then we can save it as a JPEG file, and that's our image that we're going to use to make our cut file. So I'll save this as, and I'm just putting in my Applique folder, and let's just call it heart shape. Okay, so we'll go heart shape, and let's save that. But also we need to know how big that is, because we want to make sure that not only is the shape is correct, but exactly that size. So I'm going to use this program's measuring tool, and I want to make sure that I'm measuring straight across here. So from left to right, I want to make sure, for example, that we're getting this exact dimension. So with the measuring tool, you can see down here, it's going to tell me my distance right here as I drag straight across. And you can see that this is exactly 2.15 inches. So we need to size that to 2.15 inches. So now that we have this up, so let's open that file. So it's going to be a JPEG file, and we call it heart picture. And we want to trace this first, so there's a button here that says trace, where we want to trace only the heart, just the heart, and then we'll just hit trace, so whatever shapes are in there. So now we have our heart shape. I'll go ahead and delete the background around it, and now what we want to do is make that exactly 2.15 inches. So all we do is hold down our shift key, in this case, and we want to make this dimension here 2.15 inches, and that ensures us that we've got exactly the size that's going to match up when we cut it. We can copy that, and then we can paste it. So we can paste several of these. I'll just make 3. Now at this point we're ready to send this to the cutter. One thing about the material that we're going to cut on is we're going to use this glitter vinyl, which is beautiful, but it has, you can see in the light, very, very heavy carrier material that protects it and keeps its surface nice and clean. So we're going to have to peel that away before we sew this out. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to cut on the reverse side, so that we don't have to cut through the heavy carrier material on the front. So what we'll do here is, since we're cutting reverse, then what we'll do is reverse these shapes in here. So we're just going to select them, and then we're going to choose flip horizontally. And then I'm just going to give ourselves a little bit more leeway here. We've also picked our material at the bottom right corner, our vinyl, and we're ready to go. To our cutter and lift its cover. You can align the rollers if you want to, and for different widths of material. And what we'll do is just feed this in here. We'll align. There's a left edge guide on this one that will show me where to start, and we'll tuck that under the rollers and just hit a button to load that in. So that's ready to go. And now we'll just simply hit a button here that says send to Silhouette, and that transmits the cut file here, and now that's cutting our shapes. So we're only cutting 3 shapes. In the needle or color setup screen, we want to, the first color, remember, is this outline that you can see in red. And we want to select a color for it. So I'm just going to make this, since we're sewing on a black shirt, you'll see in a moment, we'll just make that marking stitch white, and then we'll even make our border stitch white. But what's different, so we've got a white section and a white section, but we wanted to pause between the two of them. So on your Happy Machine, there's a button here that either says stop or it says frame out. We're going to do frame out, so not only will it just stop, but it'll also kick the hoop out towards you so that you can place your shape. And then finally we'll do the word love at the end, and we'll just make it a nice red just as a nice contrast. And let's go ahead and go to the home screen, and you can actually see what that's going to look like. So we're going to go and just hit start and sew that running stitch. Okay, so what it's done is it's sewed that running stitch. See how quick and simple that was, and then it kicks that out towards us, so that we have our running stitch outline to sew on and to align our shape on. So we're going to go ahead and remove that from the machine and iron the shape down. So what we've got here is our cut vinyl. And you can, since we did it in a batch, I did it in a batch of 3, but you can certainly do it in 10, 20, or whatever, is we'll cut out one of these heart shapes. What you're going to find is that you can peel back the carrier material so that it becomes very easy. And when you peel back the carrier material, the heart shape stays. So that heart shape stays on there, and what we'll do is since we've matched the shape, we'll go and outline that. We're going to align that directly onto our garment. The size and the position. And we can simply take a household iron. Typically we found about 30 seconds for this material. And you want to use a dry iron that will allow the temperature to climb above 200 degrees, otherwise the adhesive will not cure. You can see now how that peels away. We got a fairly permanently attached glitter vinyl. And So we'll simply hit start, and you can see that the machine now will sew our tack down stitch. And this 12 needle Voyager is sewing that nicely at about 1,000 stitches per minute. And we'll actually pause that really quickly so you can see what that looks like. It's such a clean edge that you can even just leave it like that. So, but we're going to go ahead and continue on with this. So simply hit start to continue. And with your happy embroidery machine, it makes short work of this applique, finishing this within a couple of minutes. Finally sewing the second color and finishing up the detail and our applique shape.